Ladies and gentlemen, my name's Paul, and in this Gaming.com video we have yet another hint about Radeon RX Vega. That's right, remember that is the official name and all. And this comes to us from a supposed leaked image of a Quake Champions box for the Radeon RX Vega, which we could assume means that the game will supposedly be packaged in with the card. Do remember, id Software, along with other studios of Bethesda, have of course that deal now with AMD, which essentially means that they will optimize their titles for AMD hardware, which we can presume will mean not just Ryzen, but also Vega / the Radeon series. So this image comes from Informatica Zero. However, from what I can understand, they grabbed it from Reddit. However, the Reddit user in question has been deleted from my investigations. Now, this is where things start to get a bit tricky, because A, obviously the image can possibly be fake. A lot of folks have commented that it is a black background, but that doesn't really mean much, because it could just be a promotional poster. It could be that it was taken from like a screen grab of something else, or it could be like a dozen different explanations. So the fact it's a black background doesn't really mean much. It's probably a poster of a box, which is kind of common, to be honest, in promotional material. You know, you'll get like large posters in it. On that poster will have like the box of the product. It's not really so surprising. Now, do remember that we did see another promotional piece of material released a while ago, again from Bethesda, and this one is of course for Prey. But let's face it, the fact that Prey is basically here, I mean obviously not exactly, but we've got the demo and within a few days we're going to have the full game itself, is pretty much unlikely that, unless it's the biggest surprise in the universe, we're not going to see Vega suddenly just appear on store shelves. Because there's not been any leaks for benchmarks, unless of course you count, you know, a couple of the supposed ones, and even then they're not really leaks, they're just kind of like, you know, slight tests. And of course we've seen the Doom demos and other bits and bobs, but there's not really been any independent leaks where, you know, John has managed to snag one from his friend who works at, you know, Sapphire or something like that. No, and that generally doesn't happen until the board partners themselves get sent out the final chips for testing. So what that basically means, at least in my opinion, is that Vega is at least a month away, possibly going to be announced formally at Computex. On the packaging has the usual stuff: DirectX 12, Vulkan, Chill, which of course refers to Radeon Chill, which aims to keep the graphics card cooler, Freesync 2, and finally Relive Capture. None of that stuff is particularly surprising to be adorned on the box, and obviously is prevalent in other hardware. For example, DirectX 12, Vulkan is compatible with older generations of GCN architecture as well, so the fact that of course it's fully adopted on the Vega architecture is not really too surprising. Unfortunately, it doesn't really give us any insight into the specifications of the GPU. It doesn't say on there, like, I don't know, 8 GB of HBM2 memory, or some other interesting marketing piece of material. For example, what would be kind of cool is if it said, I don't know, 1500 megahertz, or X number of shaders. But no, none of that at all. We just have a very simple Radeon RX Vega, and that's about all she wrote. Now, from what we can understand, of course, about the specifications, and this is not about the architecture, I want to just stick to the specifications, it is, on the high end, supposedly going to have 4096 shaders, which basically means that it's got 64 compute units. Pretty much exactly how you would imagine it, given the previous leaks as well. We've seen, even one of the earliest leaks about Vega said from one of the engineers, supposedly from their LinkedIn profile, that yes, that's what the high-end card would be, that's what the project he was working on. It's a bit weird, honestly, that we're still so much in the dark about Vega, but it's also not any cause for concern at all. Now, AMD have told us that it will likely be released this quarter. That was according to, of course, a Facebook post just a couple of days ago, and I covered that. So all we can do is just wait. I think the date that we're all expecting right now is Computex. So that presumably means that we have about a month before, of course, Computex actually takes place, which, once again, presumably means we're probably going to start getting more solid leaks in about 2 or 3 weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if the card actually does debut at Computex. Obviously, it may not. Hopefully it does, but it may not. If it does, then I wouldn't be surprised if a couple of days prior to it, 24 or 48 hours, a slide deck does happen to get leaked onto the internet. And how that happens is pretty simple. It's emailed to the wrong person, it's sent to a member of the press who accidentally send it on to one of their colleagues, and so on and so on. It's, left lying around at the, convention center when they're trying to, get things ready, and obviously someone who doesn't happen to have a vested interest in keeping it secret, they leak it, or whatever. It could be anything under the sun. Could even be that someone just happens to leave their computer unlocked and they go, go to the bathroom or whatever. At the end of the day, it's kind of ambiguous how these things get leaked quite often. But I don't know, Vega, I'm feeling pretty good about it in terms of performance levels. I do believe it's going to be faster than Pascal. The only concern I have about Vega, well, there's a couple of concerns. 1, is it going to be a paper launch? 2, how expensive is it going to be? 3, what's going to be the solution between the 580 and the low-end Vega? Like, is it going to be GDDR5? How is that all going to work? We don't know. We do know that AMD, supposedly, once again, according to leaks and bits of information we've discerned, will give their partners full permission to do whatever they want in terms of memory configurations. So we could definitely see 4GB configurations of Vega. So I guess that's one way they could bring down the cost, because HBM2 is still quite expensive, which might also be one of the reasons they've somewhat delayed the launch of Vega, because obviously they want to wait until HBM2 is more readily available. And the other concern I have is, of course, not Volta, is Volta, and how we're going to see that counter AMD. We can only wait. At the end of the day, it's down to AMD to show their cards. Nvidia have their current cards, and obviously they're waiting for the reshuffling of the deck, in other words, for AMD to put their cards down and say, hey, this is what we've got, and then we can presume that we're going to see the Volta stuff start probably popping out. And let's face it, if I were Nvidia, the onus really is on AMD now, because it doesn't really benefit Nvidia to push forward Volta, because really, if they push it forward, AMD could then perhaps hold back the architecture a little bit longer. It's better for Nvidia just to wait, push, and obviously they've got the higher end solution available now anyway, so it's just really down to AMD and the price, performance and all that stuff to convince people that, hey, Vega is the way to go. Anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed the video. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye for now.